Hello, believers, non-believers, and everyone in between. You're listening to Stories with Sapphire. I am Sapphire Sandalo. Now get cozy and open your mind because it's story time. The Mexican Bell Witch, submitted by G. Hello, Sapphire. My name is Goretti, but you can call me G. It's shorter, friendlier, and much easier to pronounce. This is actually the second story I'm sending you. The first one was about my mother and grandfather, and ever since I shared it, I've been thinking about other strange stories I grew up hearing. One memory recently came rushing back to me, one that's always lingered in the back of my mind. This time, it's about my father and mother, and an experience so strange that not even my deeply skeptical father could explain away. He believes in the possibility of the supernatural. He doesn't outright dismiss it, but his default is always to look for a logical explanation. Shadows in the hallway? Just your mind playing tricks. Sudden noises? Wind, animals, pipes, you name it. But this story, this one, has always unsettled him. Because for once, logic had no answers. It happened back when he was in college. He and my mom had already started dating, and they were part of a friend group, about 10 people or so, most of them fellow students. One day, their classes were unexpectedly canceled, so they decided to take advantage of the free time and head to the hills just outside the city. Since some of their parents still thought they were at school, they left early that morning and took a cab to a small rural town at the base of the hills. The cab dropped them off near a small dam and agreed to return at exactly 3 p.m. to pick them up. That gave them hours to relax and enjoy themselves. The weather was perfect. Clear skies, a warm sun, and just enough of a breeze to keep them cool as they climbed. Eventually, they found a small clump of trees not far from the peak where they decided to settle in. They split into smaller groups. Some wandered off to explore the surrounding woods, while others stayed put, chatting and relaxing beneath the trees. My parents stayed behind, talking with a few close friends, probably enjoying the quiet. That's when they started to hear it. A bell. At first, it was distant, faint, rhythmic. Nobody thought anything of it. In rural Mexico, it's common to hear the sound of bells from cows roaming the hills. Farmers often tie bells around their necks so they can keep track of them. The group barely noticed it. But the bell didn't stop. It didn't move away. It didn't grow quieter. It just rang. Steady. Unchanging. Eventually, one of the guys got curious. He stood up and said he was going to climb up to the peak to see if he could spot the cow. Everyone else shrugged it off and kept talking. Minutes passed. Then he came back, and something about him had changed. He looked pale. His voice shook slightly as he pulled my dad and a couple of the other guys aside. He didn't want to alarm the girls. He said, "I didn't see a cow. There was no animal, but there was a woman, an old woman. She was just standing there. She saw me, and she smiled, her eyes not moving away from me. Then she raised her hand and motioned for me to come closer." Naturally, the group burst out laughing. They teased him for being scared of an old lady. They all brushed it off, though a few of them felt a little uneasy. But the bell kept ringing. Hours passed, and eventually they regrouped and started their descent. As they got closer to the base of the hill and the dam, the bell grew fainter. It was almost a relief, the way it faded into the distance. They reached the dam and sat down to wait for their cab. And then it happened again. A sound. This time, not a bell, not an animal, but laughter. High-pitched, distorted, ugly. It echoed from above, as though someone were standing right at the top of the dam wall, just out of sight. Everyone stopped talking. No one moved. Slowly, they turned their heads and looked up. The dam wall wasn't that tall, maybe 12 or 15 feet high, but there was no one there. Nothing. Just the open sky. Two of the guys, braver or more skeptical than the rest, scrambled up to check. Still, nothing. But then the bell started again. Louder this time, not distant, but near. Too near. That's when panic started to set in. But right as the group was about to fully unravel, the cab pulled up. Relief swept over everyone like a wave. They rushed to the van, climbed in, and slammed the door behind them. As the engine started and the cab began to move, laughter turned to nervous jokes. They were safe. It was probably nothing, just nerves. But then, barely 20 feet down the road, the van sputtered. Died. The driver groaned, turned the key again. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. Frustrated, he stepped out and told them to just keep walking down the road until they reached the town. There would be other cabs there, and they could send help back for him. None of them wanted to stay any longer than necessary, so they quickly agreed and took off walking, glancing over their shoulders the whole time. They made it back to town safely, found other rides. Everyone got home. No one was hurt. But they never went back to that place. Even now, years later, my father tells the story the same way. Calm, rational, but there's always a shift in his voice, skepticism, and every time I ask him what he thinks it really was, he just shakes his head and says, I don't know, maybe a prank? A homeless person? Or I suppose, maybe a witch.
Thank you, G. For those of you who might remember, the other story G submitted was the one where the rosary was yanked out of someone's hands. So in magic, bells are commonly used for protection and clearing out spaces. Sound is very powerful. Think about crystal singing bowls, church bells. Many belief systems use the healing power of sound. So my theory of what might have happened here is that this witch was lurking around and someone, whether physical or not, was ringing a bell in an attempt to keep her at bay.